All right, my name is Brian. This is Legacy Escape Walks, and today we are here with Mitchell Prudhomme, and we are going to talk about escape rooms.
Absolutely.
So
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
awesome, Mitchell. I am so glad you're here. So we chatted online. That's how we found each other. And you said that you have been an escape room owner in the past, and now you are a player.
That's correct. Yes, sir. I owned an escape room for a brief period of time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, how many escape rooms have you played? That is always the first thing that people want to know, from a player.
I feel like that's my go-to question too whenever I meet people. And so the answer is going to be slightly disappointing because I kind of stopped tracking after a while.
Yeah.
Um, I know, like on paper, I definitely have over 100. Like I have my list,
Wow.
but sometime probably around COVID, whenever nothing was happening in the world, whenever I started
Yeah.
doing escape rooms again after COVID, I just kind of forgot to pick that back up. So if my best estimate, I'm probably getting close to 200, probably not quite there, but somewhere north of 100.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, that is a lot of escape rooms.
It's a lot of
So,
money whenever you sit down and think about it.
right?
I don't think I've ever told that exact number to my wife,
No,
but yeah, yeah.
no, don't do that. You could put people through college for that amount of money.
Indeed. It's a little depressing when you think about it, but hey, we're here to have fun, right?
Oh my gosh. So I want to start, and we'll come back to when you were a player. So when you were an owner, that must have been quite an experience. So I have never been uh, a venue owner. So tell me about that. What was the process in that of starting up an escape room venue?
Right. So this was back in 2016, kind of fairly early on, at least to my knowledge, in the history of escape rooms, at least here in America. And they
Mhm.
were popping up all over here in southern Louisiana. And I was just all on board for escape rooms. I had done a lot here in the state. We make trips to Texas fairly often to do rooms. And I was like, I could do this. I'm not a super techie guy when it comes to, mag locks and all that stuff. But really at that time, although technology was, I think, a big part of escape rooms, it wasn't as everywhere as it is now. And so I had some very low tech rooms, a little bit of technology. And yeah, I just kind of designed them from the ground up based on the location that I had. And I'm a
Mhm.
teacher by trade. I live in a
Yeah,
very small community. I never thought that it was going to be something that could replace my primary job, right? So I
right.
opened it up over the summer. We did well. I was very, very happy with how it went. Whenever the school year started again, though, just kind of the mental stress of dealing with owning a business and teaching at the same time was just not something that was comfortable for me. And one
Right.
day I was chatting with one of my friends who also liked escape rooms and just talking about how, like, man, I'm enjoying the escape room, but also it's just like the stress of that plus teaching. And he was like, "Hey, I'll buy it from you." And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." So yeah, it was a few months, and then it exchanged hands. I was grateful that it happened. But
Yeah.
also, it was a learning experience of running a business, even if it's something you're really passionate about, can still have a lot of mental stressors. Like, even though we've always been in the green for these several months that
Mhm.
we've been running, what if next month we're in the red and we still have to pay rent? So just
Sure.
kind of the business side of it was a lot more than I was expecting.
Sure. Absolutely. I can see that. And you got it up and off the ground. You said for a second that you designed the room around your space. And that's really smart, I think. I actually took a look at starting a venue probably about the same time as you did. And I went in and found this great space. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would be the prison escape space. And then this room here would be my study. Then I had this very small third room. This wasn't a huge space. There was only room for probably three escape rooms. And
Yeah,
the
that's
third
I
room
had three.
was,
I had room for a
yeah,
potential fourth, but I never got to there. But yeah, I'm sorry, I
yeah.
interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the third room is small, and I thought, oh my gosh, what can I even get in here? It would have to be something tiny and then a huge lobby. So that was fun. But I think you're right. I think you have to design your room around what space you have available, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're one of those lucky places that runs like a haunted house and you have all this capital already, if and or if you're a franchise, you got to work with what you can get. What I was in a former doctor's office, and
Yeah.
so it kind of already had that medical sciencey theme. So like I had a lab, I had a doctor's office, like a crazy doctor, and then their waiting room was kind of like this wood paneling. So we ended up
Mhm.
building part of it as a jail cell, and the rest of it was kind of like the ante room to the jail cell once you got out of the jail. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and it worked with the space, I thought.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where did you come up with the ideas for your designs as you're escaping building these escape rooms? Was it all you? Did you try to pull some inspiration from rooms you've been to? How did that work?
It was pretty much all me. I mean, I'm sure there were some friends and family members that had ideas here and there, but um, I really wanted to try to make the puzzles unique. There were certain puzzles, I mean, even to this day, you go to an escape room, you see one or two certain components in the game, and you're like, oh, I know what I have to do with this. I wanted
Right.
to stand out. And now, don't get me wrong, like I said, I live in a very small community. Most people who did my escape room probably had never done an escape room in their life before, so anything would
Hmm.
have been new to them. But I would have known, oh, this is just rip off of that or that. And I'm not saying that all my puzzles were 100% unique. Since then, I've gone to
Sure.
see escape rooms, and we happen to create the same puzzle independently,
Hmm.
but that was what I was striving for.
Yeah. And I think that happens, when I first started doing escape rooms, I did a few, and that's part of the fun part of it. Every time you go into a new escape room early on, like your mind gets blown every time you go into one, right? Because everything's a new puzzle and you're like, I didn't know this existed. So that part of it is really cool. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of the fun of it. Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm shocked whenever I go into an escape room and I see something that I haven't seen some element of before. We were just on vacation with my family. It was actually the first escape room my kids had done. They're 8 and 9 now, and I would open up a box and see things. I was like, "Here, go do this with that," and their minds were a little bit blown. Like, how do you know that? How do you know? And it's just not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but it's just once you've done this a certain number of times, it kind of just
Yeah.
the puzzle pieces fit themselves together almost instantly in your brain.
Right. Yeah, and then you pick up good tips, Uh, the first time you do an escape room and there's a second room, it's a big deal,
Oh
And now
yeah.
you expect a second room and sometimes a
And
third
if you
room,
don't,
obviously.
you get a little disappointed if there's not, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're like, oh, there's 20 minutes left. I'm 100% sure there's like another room here.
The
Um,
first escape room I ever did, and it's no spoilers because this room is no longer around the businesses, but they've replaced the room. It was this
mhm.
small room. I don't want to exaggerate, maybe 6 by 8 feet, very, very small.
Wow.
And there were numbers written all around the wall, and there was a lockbox. And so we don't know what to expect in an escape room. We're just putting all these numbers in. And after 15 minutes, they said, why haven't you gone into the second room yet? And we're like, because it's locked. There was this chain on the wall. And it was literally like a fake chain and a fake lock. And you just open this cabinet and you crawl into another room, and our minds were blown. We were like, what is this? We didn't, we had never done one before. So we're like, oh yeah, small
Oh,
room, numbers locked. Sure. Yeah, this is normal to just sit here and not move from this space. So
oh my
yeah, but even
gosh.
to this day, 100 rooms deep, an extra room you weren't expecting is one of the greatest surprises in an escape room. I think so.
Right? Yeah, you're like, oh, we're free to move. We can go around here. Wow. I heard a story of some people who were in an escape room and same situation. After about 15 minutes, they heard the voice over the loudspeaker. Because they were just begging for a clue. They started and the lights were out, and they're trying to figure out how do you do it. They thought for sure there was some magical thing to turn on the lights. They had to walk over to the light switch and flip the switch.
I
So, I mean, you
love
gotta
that.
take what you gotta take the easy road sometimes, right?
Yeah. Now, I
Um,
mean, have you done an escape room all in the dark the whole time before though? Because those are fun.
no. Yeah, no, I have not. I've not done any dark ones.
Oh man,
So,
the first one I did, I was terrified because it was like a horror themed one,
yeah.
and but then there's one in New Orleans that's really really good. That's all in the dark, and it was relying on obviously a different set of senses. It was like a completely new experience. It was great.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I haven't, I actually stay away from the horror ones. That's just not my game.
Same, same.
Yeah. And so I love, pretty much anything else though. So, um, all right. So you've played somewhere between, anyway, you're approaching 200 games now. There's got to be some favorites. What are some of your favorite ones? And also, I kind of want to know, so you're based out of Louisiana. Where have you gone? All around the US, all around the world? Where are you playing all these games?
So we've played, I say we, I have played most of the games in Louisiana. There's a couple escape rooms that are way up north, almost in Arkansas, that I haven't gotten to because if we're driving that far, we might as well drive to Houston, which is about 4 hours
Sure.
away.
Yeah.
So other than those ones, the very tip of Louisiana, I've done, to my knowledge, all the ones in Louisiana. We've done a lot in Houston. We've done a few trips just specifically to do escape rooms there. We've done some in Dallas, Gulf
Mhm.
Shores, South Korea,
South
Chicago,
Korea.
Philadelphia. Yeah,
Wow.
we didn't go there just for escape rooms. We just happened to be there and did some. So I would say mostly the southern United States, but anytime we go on vacation, wherever it is we happen to be, we're going to do
Yeah.
some. New York, we done a lot there because we're big theater people. We go there fairly often. We do rooms over there too.
So you found a good one on Yelp and you were like, we're going to South Korea. and then you came back. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent thousands of dollars for that one escape room. My buddy lives
Right.
there and was getting married, so it's like we'll never
Uh,
be here again. Let's try an escape room here.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you said you just took your kids to one, and I actually this month took my kids to their first one also.
How old are they?
So 11, 13, 15.
Okay.
And so it's a good age. It's a good age for
Hmm.
doing that. And of course, I mean, I prepped them as much as I could, right? And they've gone through the whole deal of doing escape rooms at home that I've designed. And so they kind of know their way around. You know what I mean? It's not like a total
Right.
surprise as when you're doing your first one and you don't even know what you're walking into. Um, and so they were great. They walked in and they immediately knew exactly what to do. They were like, I have a key lock over here. I have a 4-digit lock over here.
That's
I found a
great.
puzzle piece, whatever it is. So they're just shouting out information to everybody. We're communicating. I'm like, man, I taught them well. They're doing great.
That's awesome. I would be proud if I were you. Yeah. So
Right?
just like you, I've done little puzzles and things with my kids at home as well. And I tried so hard not to steamroll them because I get very competitive. The first thing I ask is what's the record on the room when I get there. And so,
Wow.
trying to kind of let them do some of it, I was worried would be an issue. But the thing that I'm worst at is like finding things that are hidden. Like if there's something in a
Hmm.
nook or cranny, I'm horrible at that. Like ask my wife, I can not find something. She goes look for it. It's like it appears there, the typical husband thing. So
Right?
I told them that was their job. They had to look in all the nooks and crannies, and they found stuff that I would not have found. I was very proud of them for that.
That
At one point, there was a particularly more difficult puzzle. It was taking my wife and I a little bit longer to figure out, and this room was one that incorporated a slide, and the room was basically a big loop. So I'm doing a puzzle, and my son goes that way, and then I see him coming down the slide, and then I'm working on the puzzle. He comes down. He's just making a loop, doing the slide while he was patiently waiting for us to solve this puzzle. But other
so
than
he's
that, they
just
did pretty
sliding. Is he
well.
finding clues on the slide?
At that point, it was kind of like the final puzzle, I think. And no, he was just having fun, which again, that's why we do this.
That's great. Let's see. So, oh yeah, so you mentioned when you first started building yours, you had the escape rooms when you were an owner, you had some what you thought may have been some basic stuff that in technology has changed a lot, obviously, as time goes on. I mean, here we are in the world of artificial intelligence already, but where do you think the industry is going as far as escape rooms? What are some of the high tech things that you have seen in some of the rooms that you've done?
Well, I feel like the industry as a whole, I don't think I'd be remiss to say this. I feel like since I've started, has definitely started to decline in terms of just number of locations. You know, what I did back in 2016, I don't think that would survive a day nowadays, at least around here. We've had so many escape rooms pop up and close down in our area
Wow.
that you really have to be premier, I think so anyway, in your region to sustain something long term. Maybe it's different in really big cities, but then there's more competition. I don't know. So in
Mhm.
my immediate area, I would say, 30-mile round trip of my home, there's only one escape room that's still around, and they were the
Mhm.
first ones that were here. They're the ones with the most technology. Now,
Yeah.
with that said, I don't necessarily think that you have to have good technology to have a good escape room. I think you would agree. Of course, it
Right.
enhances. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that a lot of in the forums and things online, I see people, they don't even want to turn a lock anymore or turn a key. They want to put something down and it opens up something somewhere else. And I think that kind of novelty is what's going to keep the non-enthusiast coming and enjoying it.
Hmm.
Sometimes whenever someone's playing the escape room for the first time with me and I'm kind of giving them some tips beforehand, I say you have to not necessarily always think in terms of unlocking something or logically. You may put something down and something magically opens over there. Just pretend like it's magic and let it happen. So I think
Right.
those kinds of experiences where you do something and it triggers something like in a video game,
Hmm.
is what will keep people coming back if they're not just in it for the puzzles and the
Yeah.
enthusiasm that we enthusiasts have.
I think so. And that technology has got to work, the escape room we did
Oof.
with the kids, a couple of weeks ago. We go in and I see, without giving any spoilers, I see that I have to put something a certain weight on a certain area, and I had it on there, and I knew I had it right. I knew I had it right, and somehow it didn't trigger the lock. And we waited a few minutes. We came back to it. We readjusted it, and then it popped open. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm never going to get those 3 minutes back that we just lost."
Oh, you are speaking my language, man. So whenever I owned an escape room, I was committed to every game will have their own game master. We're not sharing screens or anything like that because of moments like that, or even a good old fashioned, regular locked. Even if you have it lined up perfectly, sometimes if it's not just right, it won't open. And so if a game master hears you saying, "Oh yeah, the code is words," and you're not able to open it, that game master should be paying enough attention to say, "Hey, try that again."
Yeah,
I hate when that happens because
I
again, my
know.
wife hates it, but I want the fastest possible time, and it stresses her out because she can't relax or take a breath at all during the room. But because I'm obsessed with those kind of things, that drives me nuts whenever that happens. That's inexcusable in my opinion. Whenever you have one person running 4 or 5 rooms, what are they even doing there? In my
That's
opinion.
tough. That's tough. Yeah. No, I love it when you have the one-on-one, and that's what we had, and I loved it because she could pipe in, and she was amazing, by the way. We asked her questions. Um, and so unlike you, my wife is competitive and we are competitive, but we are not trying to break the ultimate record. I mean, we want to have some fun in there. If we happen to break a record, oh wow, I mean, we would be certainly surprised. We go in and we do a good job and we get out, but I have never set a record. I don't anticipate setting any records. Um, my son, the 11-year-old, he was also the searcher. We had 5 blocks we're supposed to find. We could not find the fifth one. We had all 4 of them, and it's because we opened something else and it triggered us to get something, and we couldn't find it. And she said, "I think the thing you're looking for is in plain sight." The moderator, and so our 11-year-old just goes boom, boom, found it. Some blue block hidden in a blue wall. So blue on blue, we got it. So, but I know what you mean. Some people are definitely searchers. You got to know your role, right?
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
So no, definitely tell me some more about some more of the best rooms you've done. I know you said you've done them worldwide. What are some of your favorite rooms? And why were they your favorite?
Okay, so you're from Texas. What part of
Mhm.
Texas, if you don't mind my
Fort
asking?
Worth.
Okay, so
Fort Worth, yep.
have you done The Man from Beyond at Strange Bird in Houston?
I have not. I have done one with my dad in Houston. I think it was Cypher something escape room. I'd have to look it up again.
Okay, I've done some at Cypher, and actually, I'm going
We
off
did a
tangent a little
museum.
bit.
We did a museum heist. Yeah.
Okay, so with Cypher, we took a trip specifically to Houston, to do rooms that we don't have around here, right? And one of the rooms we did was black gold. It was an oil themed one. We went and did it, and then our escape room here locally just opened a new room. Like, yeah, new room. It's black gold. I'm like, wait, is this from Cypher in Houston? Yeah, it is. Come on,
Oh
we could have
my
saved
gosh.
Anyway,
The
but in
same
Houston,
room.
have you heard of Strange Bird, the Man from
Um,
Beyond?
n- no, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you haven't heard of it. It
Is
is
it amazing?
from for all I know, one of the top escape rooms in the world. Um,
Ugh.
it's Houdini themed. But from the moment you
Okay,
walk in
so
the
I've heard of
door,
the
the story
Houdini
has
one, so
begun.
that's the one. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, it's that one. From the moment you enter the door to the moment you leave, the story is happening. So there are live actors. I'm not giving anything away, but at one point the show ends and the room starts, and I didn't even realize that the room had started because I was so invested in the story. That was really, really cool. I can't wait to
That's
see what they come out
amazing.
with next. Because it has live actors, I'm assuming that's one of the reasons they only have the one room, but they are
Mhm.
fantastic. Um,
Wow.
13th Gate here in Louisiana, a little bit over an hour from me. I know they're known worldwide for their escape rooms. Again, that's one of the ones that they have a haunted house. So they have that capital, they have that scenery that they use in their haunted house, and then the next year they take that scenery and they use it in their new escape room. And so it's Hollywood
Hmm.
level sets, huge. Again, I don't want to give things away, but things like Tomb of Anubis and Cutthroat Cavern at 13th Gate. I mean, Cutthroat Cavern, you feel like you're in the Goonies. There's almost
Wow.
literally probably about half of a pirate ship in there. There's actual sand that you have to dig in. Um,
Wow.
there's a human-sized hamster wheel that rotates the room around. It's insane.
Oh, I want to
Um,
go on that. Are they
hey man, if you're
changing
ever in
that room
Louisiana,
out?
hit me up.
Okay,
I
you
don't
got
know
a
why they
deal.
would. It's one of their most recent rooms, and I say
Mhm.
that it was here before COVID. They don't have new rooms super often because they're such big builds, and because they're
Yeah.
known all around the world. I don't think they have a lack of players for those games. Um,
Sure.
and I've played it already, but it's huge, and I don't remember a lot of it. So I'll gladly go meet you in Baton Rouge sometime if you want to do that
Yeah.
room. Another really
Amazing.
good one in New Orleans. There's an escape room called Escape the Room. Sorry, Escape My Room. My apologies. And
Mhm.
that's kind of like the Man from Beyond. That from the minute you walk in, the story begins. And I'm trying not to give too much away, but you walk in, and it looks like you're in like a store, this little old fashioned storefront, and then the phone rings, And
Oh, do you pick it
so
up? Please say yes.
yeah, of course you pick it up, and I think I'll stop
Uh,
there. I'll stop there to not spoil anything. But then
uh,
you eventually get into the real waiting room, and there are actually puzzles while you're waiting, and your game masters are in character, and it is
uh,
phenomenal.
that is
So
epic.
if you come here for 13th Gate, New Orleans is just about an
Mhm.
hour drive. You got to go to Escape My Room as well.
Yeah, so there's a few great ones, amazing ones to do just in your backyard.
Yeah, I feel really, really lucky. Those two, and those aren't the only ones. I mean, we have a branch of the Escape game in New Orleans. We have, I think this one may have closed, but we had another one in New Orleans as well. And there's a third one definitely in New Orleans. So just right there, there's a lot of them. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm lucky that they're really close to me. I think that they're a big part in fueling my addiction. That I started with these little local ones around me that are all right, but not world changing. And then, as I finish all of those, I start looking farther afield and I find these, world class escape rooms a couple hours down the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you not get addicted?
That's amazing. Now, I saw a post on the Facebook group Escape Room Enthusiast, and they're asking, the enthusiasts who do 100 rooms or 200 rooms or more, that person is in the minority. The people who go to escape rooms the majority of the time, they're not going to go do 100 rooms. They may do a handful of rooms, and that's great. And so are those people expecting more of the modern technology? I think you really, we probably already answered that. I think the answer is yes. I think they love to see put it in and something else is triggered over here. I think that's what people like to see. And I think that's what the owners are saying.
I think so too. If you're more of a casual gamer, I think a low tech room will get you to come back a couple times. But something
Mhm.
jaw dropping like that, especially when you're not expecting it, I think is what
Mhm.
turns you into a repeat offender.
Yeah. Um, okay. What's more important, theme or puzzle?
I think I'm gonna get knocked on this, but puzzle for me.
Yeah.
I'm a big tabletop board gamer as well, and
Hmm.
it's same question that comes up all the time: mechanics or theme. And for me, it's mechanics all the way. My friend jokes that I have hundreds of board games, and he say, so if these were all just black and white little squares and cubes and lines, you'd still enjoy them just as much if you like the rules. I said, yeah. Now with an escape room, I do think the theme's a little bit more important than a board game.
Right.
Whenever we used to list out our escape rooms, we would rank them, and the formula we had on Excel was like, I think it was theme was like a one time multiplier, and puzzles were a 1.5. So like maybe
Wow.
50% more important. These days I might even go more than that.
Wow.
I think immersion's important, but at the end of the day,
Hmm.
I do this because I like solving the puzzles more so than I want to be
Yeah.
transported to another world.
Wow. I want to know what else is on the that Excel sheet. Theme, puzzle. Tell me what else is on there. I gotta know
I
how
think
do you what makes up a good escape room?
I honestly, those are the only two I remember. There may be some others. Like I said, it's been a while since I've actually tracked it. I know that's a disappointing answer, but those are the two big ones for sure.
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%. So, what advice would you give to a more casual person? What would you tell them? Hey, if they want to beat that escape room, if they want to win, what do you tell them? What are your tips from someone who's done 100 plus escape rooms? How do you tell somebody to go beat one?
The biggest thing, and you kind of already hinted at, is communication. Like you said, the first thing we do whenever we get in a room, before we even try to solve anything, is we look as much as we can at every nook and cranny. We announce to the room everything we found, and not just a lock. This is a 5 number lock. This is a four alphanumeric lock, those kind of things, directional lock. And we just take stock for about 5 minutes or however long it takes of everything that's there before we try to match anything together. That communication continues even once you start solving the puzzles, because although I like being involved as many of the puzzles as possible, in my opinion, a good room is going to have multiple paths and we don't have to all be crowded around one little thing where only one
Mhm.
person is spinning the dial. But as that's happening, say you take all the components that you use in that puzzle and you put them to the side. You say, hey, this stuff is done. Don't waste your time looking at it. Now, every now and then you come across an escape room that's going to use one of those things again, which I am not a fan of. But
Right.
99% of the time, you could say, hey, don't worry about this stuff. Don't worry about this thing on the wall. It's done. I'll explain it to you after the game. Don't waste your time with it. Um,
Right.
I think that
Yeah.
that right there encompasses communication, but also just kind of a little bit of meta thinking of the game. Like, for example, um, there was this one escape room. I do not remember what it was, but like we were trying to solve a puzzle and it had to do with, I think, some books, and we had to figure out the order. And this was early on kind of in my escape rooming experience. And one of my friends was like, oh, well, initially they were on the shelf in this order. But I instantly I thought, wait a minute, if
Oh,
that's what it is, we've already messed this up. And what if
right.
we can never remember the order again? So we'd never be able to solve this puzzle. And so that kind of metagaming of thinking how they idiot proof the rooms, it couldn't be
Right.
based on that original orientation. Stuff like that, that again, I
Yeah.
think just comes with the mileage. I always
Yeah.
tell that to my first time players or, less
Yeah.
experienced players.
Yeah, the puzzles where if you move it or touch it, then you can't ever figure it out. That's no good anymore because people want to come in and they want to move stuff around. You know they're going to search, if you're a designer or moderator, they're going to come in and rip the place apart. So you really can't build that kind of thing anymore. It's got to be something to where even if I take it off the shelf and move it around, I can still put it together, hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is kind of on the same topic, kind of not. A new escape room just opened about 30 miles down the road from me not that long ago, and we went in, we were doing their rooms. And again, part of that first 5 minutes, well, not just at the beginning of the room, but as you get into each room, 5 minutes taking stock of the room, I always take drawers all the way out of the desk. Like not just open it, I
Mhm.
take it and I look at it underneath the drawer. Well, it was a desk, and on each side there were two drawers, and the top two were not locked, but the bottom was. So I take out the drawers, and then I can reach into this drawer now, the bottom drawer that
Escape
is
room
locked.
hack.
And so I took it out and I looked at the camera. I was like, I know I'm not supposed to have this, so I'm just gonna put this down right here. But y'all might want to fix it because we were one of the first ones that played the room.
Oh,
And
that's so good.
so I told my team like, hey, we're not supposed to have this, but I'm putting it right here. We're gonna need it eventually. And then I'm working on something else, and I turn around at one of my newer gaming friends. It's like, oh, this goes here, and he does it, and it opens the final room. I was like, okay, whatever, let's just do it. And so we got out of the room
Fine, we'll
way
take
sooner than
it.
we were supposed to. Yeah, yeah. I wasn't gonna
That's
do
so
it, but
funny.
he did it. So I was like, okay, I'll take it.
We'll take it. Um, I designed one at home for the fam during the holidays once. And we're talking like 16 adults because there's a lot of people in my fam.
Oh wow.
And on the reset, because I had the girls come and do it, and then I had the guys come and do it. And on the reset, I forgot to lock one of the deals on a filing cabinet. And somebody did the exact same thing. They came in and opened one, and he just looked down there and was like, reached, grabbed it. I was like, could you pretend you don't have that so I can go hide this now? So that for
Well, see,
sure
you were a good
happens.
game master at that
Right.
escape room that I'm talking about. If they would have been paying attention, they would have known. Because even once we got out way early, they were like, "Wow, how'd you get out so fast?" And I'm like, "You were paying attention. You would have known that your flow
Right.
is busted here with that drawer." And so they had another person, a group coming in right after us. I was like, "You got a drill? Like I can fix it for you right now if you got a hasp. I'll move the hasp." But they
Oh
did take
my
me up on
gosh.
that for it.
So have you done any escape rooms at home or online? I want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so actually, the way I first got into escape rooms, probably I was 13 years old. Not the old point and click ones. I didn't like the point and click ones that were browser based
Mhm.
because I felt like it was cheating. You just move your cursor around until you find something that turns into the hand, and then you can click on that. But have you ever heard of? It's a silly name, but not prawn. Do you know what that
Don't
is?
think so. Don't think so.
Okay, so this isn't like X-rated or anything, but I'm going to say a word. It stands
Yeah.
for not porn. So like back in the
Gotcha.
day, it was like, hey, there's stuff to do on the internet other than watch that. So
Yeah.
it was like you would go to the website, and that was the most famous one was not prawn, but there were other ones. You'd go to the website and they would have a picture or a clue or something. Once you solve it, you just put a slash and whatever the word is, you put it at the end of the link and it'll bring you to the second one. And you keep
Hmm.
doing that. That was my first what I feel escape room experience. And so back in 2016 was the first time that locally I saw we had an escape room open. I was like, hey, that reminds me of that thing I used to do 10 years ago on the internet. And it actually just came back on Facebook memories. It was Easter, I
Wow.
believe, of 2016 that my family and I were all sitting around and we looked on Facebook. Hey, an escape room just opened. Let's go do it. And we went do it. I'm sorry. What was the question? Oh, online escape rooms. That's right. It got ahead
Right.
of me.
Yeah. Any online. Yeah.
Sorry. So that's how I got started. And then I have played a VR escape room, one of the escape rooms here in Louisiana. It's a branch of escapology. And I was very hesitant on the idea of a VR escape room. But it
Mhm.
was one of the Ubisoft ones. It was fantastic.
Oh.
It was co-op. We were in the same room. They had a great setup, and I felt like I was playing Assassin's Creed as an escape room. It was insane.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
more more recently, kind of, I think it was maybe during COVID, I started downloading some of these escape simulators on Steam. My favorite
Mhm.
one is called that Escape Simulator. It's really, really good. It's mimicking playing an escape room in real life. You have your avatar, you move it around. The graphics aren't fantastic, but that's okay. I'm not in it
Right.
for the graphics. but I highly recommend Escape Simulator if you're looking for a digital escape room.
It's awesome. Yeah. So the VR, the super hot game, my son has a VR headset. So that's, one of the first ones that came out. And it's like being in the Matrix. So you're dodging stuff, you're
Yeah,
grabbing
my
weapons,
son
all
has
that
that. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So that was a fun game. But, after 15 minutes, I'm like, man, I can't do anymore.
Yeah. I
So
get dizzy. I get like headaches and
yeah,
stuff.
for sure. So I'm expecting an escape room one to be different to where it's not as moving around as much, but you can still use the room and everything in it. Now, I'm guessing that there's going to be some pretty amazing stuff coming out pretty soon on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
those Ubisoft ones, like I said, I've done one or two at an escape room company. I don't know if they're accessible. I'm assuming you have to get a license or something. I doubt you can get it on your home console, but whenever
mhm.
you can, those are top notch, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of licensing, we're starting to see some big licenses come out, for escape rooms. So obviously, big companies are doing it, and we're seeing companies do escape rooms as one-offs for their employees. There's people who have done, for example, the Clue board game into an escape room, things like that. My guess is licensing is going to continue to be a big deal. And like you said, a lot of these companies, a lot of the small ones have maybe not survived the pandemic, but when they're getting bigger, better, more technology, I think some of these licenses are going to keep going. What do you think?
I think so. The only thing is, I don't think it's going to be the kind of thing that true enthusiasts want to play because a company that's licensing out um, I can't think, intelligent.
Yeah, yeah,
What is that
they're
word I'm looking for?
intellectual property, their IP.
Thank you. Intellectual property. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So any IP rooms are going to want to appeal to a mass audience. So it's not going to be, in my opinion, on the difficulty level that a true enthusiast
Mhm.
would enjoy. I think I might go for the novelty of it. Just recently, I think it's at Universal. I recently heard that they have an escape room now, but it's like they said it's super easy and it's
Mhm.
designed in a way. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's designed in a way to have a large volume of people coming through. So it's like you're in this room with a bunch of people, and like after a certain amount of time, you're going to move on, whether or not you've solved it, something like
Right.
that. So if it's trying to appeal to the masses, I don't know if it's going to sate that desire for what we're looking for.
Right.
But I'm definitely open to the idea of
Mhm.
I guess escape rooms becoming a little bit more mainstream. I think it'd be
Yeah.
good for the industry.
Yeah. I think so. Anything that's good raises everybody, I think. If they have to move on, like in a big theme park, then they've got to hopefully be given the answers. Otherwise, as they move on, they'll think what just happened. So yeah, they probably have to give them enough information so they can get it and go, would be my guess. So
Yeah, I mean,
mhm.
especially if not, you can't have anything that builds. It'd have to be completely
Mhm.
disjointed puzzles and story from room to room.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm changing the topic a little bit, but have you ever played any escape room board games?
Um, so, I've designed a couple of games that you can play at home, just kind of the paper type that you can go. So, what have you done in that? I've seen some playthroughs of some of the exit games, although I haven't played any of those
Mhm.
myself. What have you done?
Yeah, so Exit is probably the one I've done the most of. I've also played, I think it was just called Escape from the board game with the little golden keys you would put in the machine.
Hmm.
I've also done, there was one other company I played with. So my initial review, the first time I played an escape room board game, was like, this is awesome. I don't have to travel to Houston and pay $100 for me and all my friends to do an escape room. But then the second and third ones I did, I was like, oh, this is kind of just more of the same and it's not good. Um,
Right.
but that was kind of the first ones in the early days. Nowadays, I think Exit is a great company. However, they have a difficulty rating on the side of the box. I believe it's out of 4. Their
Hmm.
fours are impossible. Like again, I've done so many escape rooms. There are puzzles in there that I'm like, I would never have assumed that without a
Got to
hint.
make the jump. Yeah.
The, right.
Yeah.
Their ones and twos are like, come on. Like my a 4-year-old could do this. So I think the
Yeah.
sweet spot on Exit is around a 3. Right there,
Okay.
I am completely satisfied with it. Anything above or
Yeah.
below just doesn't do it for me. But they're
Yeah.
also inconsistent. Like some of them are really, really good, and some of them are like, eh. So it's just
Hmm.
if anybody is wanting to get into that, I would say read reviews of each individual one before you go out for it. Usually you're
Yeah.
going to have to buy it because, again, without giving spoilers, sometimes you're having to cut up the components and things. So you're not going to
Sure.
get a secondhand copy probably. Though I
Yeah.
think they have things you could print out to replace it. But so before you go out and spend money on it, I would definitely look at the reviews for that specific escape room,
Hmm.
not Exit as a whole, whatever the theme is for that
Yeah.
puzzle.
That's great advice. I actually did Escape Room in a Box, the werewolf experiment, I think it's called. Did you do that one? That was one of the early ones. I think they did a Kickstarter.
No.
Um, yeah, so that was a good one. They had some pieces. So that one's not just paper. That no spoilers either, but they had other components that made it really interesting. Very good designers they were.
I think the escape game has like a box you can order with like a bunch of mini games, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Have you heard of that?
No, I'm not sure what that one is. But it would be interesting though to have, multiple in the box. Yeah.
Yeah, because my local library from time to time does escape rooms. And the first time I went, I was really excited because, hey, the library's doing an escape room. And the problem is, it's like that box, whatever it is like they kind of send you like the ideas and maybe a lock or two, but you have to implement it. And I don't know, maybe it was
Mhm.
just the implementation. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, what other fun escape room trips do you have planned coming up? Do you have anything in the book that you're going to see, or do you have just kind of a wait and see and we'll go when we go?
Nothing super specific right now. I'm pretty busy these days. I'm a theater guy. I'm in the middle of directing a show right now, so I don't have anything planned in the immediate future. Although my local escape room, the one that's been there since 2016, the first one I ever went to, they just had a new room open, I believe, this week. So hoping this weekend we can go and check that out and
Oh, sweet.
get up high on that leaderboard and keep our name up there for a while.
That's amazing. What's the name of that escape room again?
It's just called Escape Room Lafayette. Lafayette is the big city a
Lafayette.
little bit north of
Yeah,
us. Yeah.
gotcha. That's awesome. Well, Mitchell, it has been really good talking to you about escape rooms. I know we kind of covered a lot of material, but I love to hear those stories.
For sure. It's been great talking. And you're only about 6 hour drive for me if you're in Fort Worth. So maybe we can meet up and do some room sometime.
Man, we should absolutely sometime. So thank you for being here. Would love to chat again sometime.
Yeah, anytime. Hit me up.
All right. Thanks, Mitchell.
All right. Thanks.